Welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris. I'm chatting today to longtime political observer James Chin, who is a professor of Asian Studies at University of Tasmania in Australia. He's in town and we managed to catch some time with him. James, your commentary on Malaysian politics often triggers points of discussion in public discourse. And I'm quite curious to know how you see, as someone who is outside of Malaysia, bird's eye view, how do you see Malaysia's political landscape changing, and what do these changes, how are they significant to the way we are living today?
Right. I think the first thing that came out very clearly in the last several months is that all the rules we understand about Malay politics or Malaysian politics in general are out the window. So anything is possible now. I mean, who would have thought that, for example, Tun Mahathir, the author or the person who projected this plan called Wawasan 2020 and Bangsa Malaysia, has turned a full circle and said that multiracialism is out. There's no such thing, that the Federation of Malaysia is really a Malay state. So, you know, everything that we understand about Malaysian politics, the rules doesn't apply. Who would have thought that, you know, DAP is quite happy and tell the supporters, please support UMNO candidates. You know, all these things is you know, unheard of even a few years ago. People thought this can't happen, this has happened. But what really concerns me about Malaysia is not only that there's no more rules about what's going to happen to the country, but now it is very clear, especially if you listen to people like Hadi Awan, Mahathir, and a few other senior leaders in Malaysia, that there's basically three visions for what Malaysia is. And I'm very worried because I'm worried that these three visions find it very difficult to gel. In other words, they don't have a common area, right? The first vision is the vision put out by people like Mahathir, Hadi Awan. This is a Malay Islamic state, right? Malaysia is basically a Malay state. Islam is a central character of this state, okay? This is not me saying it, everyone knows it. You just have to follow Hadi Awan on his Facebook, and this is the message he keep repeating, right? The second vision is, of course, the vision put up by, for lack of another example, is people like the DAP. Malaysia is progressive, you know, not 100% secular, but we follow the constitution. You know, we are very liberal, very modern. You know, we want to progress up to the next level. We accept that Malaysia is a multiracial society. In terms of religion, everybody have the right to practice a religion, but we recognize Islam is the religion of the Federation.
Okay.
So these two areas, and my point is that there's very little overlap. You can't overlap because they're very different. And the third vision, of course, is that the people from Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, so the people of Sabah and Sarawak said that, you know, we enter the Federation of Malaysia on a set of understanding of what Malaysia should look like, and we never got a piece of the action. And in fact, you not only push us around, for lack of a better word, you took out all our resources, but we have been invisible in the system for 50 years, right? So for example, right, if I were to ask you, outside, of course, in Sabah and Sarawak, if I ask you to name the ethnic group, you tell me, oh, Kadazan Dusung, Iban, Dayak. But beyond that, Sarawak has actually 26 major ethnic groups, right, officially, for the census. You can't tell me beyond that, right? So they're saying that what happened to Malaysia, what happened to the promise of Malaysia. So these are three separate visions for Malaysia. And the reason why I feel that there is inherent tensions and that it doesn't gel together is because if you look at the outcome of last year's election, right, who are the two biggest blocs in parliament? The two biggest blocs is PAS on the one hand, promoting, like I said, vision number one. And the second biggest bloc is DAP, promoting the other vision, right?
Right.
And then you got Sabah, Sarawak with GPS, which is the third bloc. Together with Sabah, they control about 36 GRS. So you see, each of these blocks, right, they have their own vision, but there's no common ground.
So what are the consequences of having three separate narratives that don't gel?
Well, the obvious one is that you have tensions in the political system and people get more and more frustrated.
Do you see this as reasons for more rising polarization in Malaysia?
Look, it's not rising polarization, it's already here, right? I mean, yes, it is true that social media doesn't reflect reality because of the cyber troopers, whatever it is. But those people who are not involved in all these things, right, you can see the views are already happening. you can see that, it's really a highly polarized society. And the reason I said it is very obvious, because everybody is trying to spin an ethnic or a religious angle to every major incident you can think of. The most recent one, which your listeners will know immediately, is you have a minister who went to an immigration area because the person that tahan in immigration was connected, right? She obviously placed a call to you-know-who, and the minister had to come in, right? So if you look at the Malay social media, especially the more right-wing ones, they're spinning the story that he's only helping Chinese, playing the ethnic angle, or they're saying that there's some secret connection. He's involved in this, involved in that, human trafficking, whatever it is, or the girl is connected to him in intimate terms, whatever it is. So they're playing this angle and say that he's a Chinese minister. He has no respect for the civil service. That's why he barged in. If you look at the Chinese social media, they're saying that, oh, it's a very good thing because the minister turun padang, he take direct action, and he says that corruption in immigration. Maybe the word corruption is too strong a word to use. How should I say it? This sort of special deals done in immigration, right? It's a long-standing issue, right? It is not like this thing happened overnight. But you can see the different sort of narrative that's been put out, and this is due to a polarization. If the country was not so polarized, then the narrative will be different. Then the narrative will be to call an investigation to find out what really happened. Do we need to reform immigration? But nobody talks about reforming immigration. People just get caught up in all this narrative. Right. They're saying that, why should a minister have to barge into that, do this sort of thing?
Do you see any way forward that these narratives don't go even more off tangent and diverge away from each other?
I think what is very important is that those who believe in Middle Malaysia must stand up. I don't know why, but it seems to me that those who believe in the middle path, right, they're afraid to put their hands up, or they're afraid to stand up. Now, if you were to ask me why, my best guess is that they don't want to stand up because they will get hit, right? They'll get hit by the right wing from
by
the
extremes, right?
Not the extreme, but the right wing from the individual group, right, who will push them down. Because they know if they stand up and say that I support Middle Malaysia, right, then somebody will use the religious angle or the ethnic angle to attack them. And most people, middle of the road, right, they do not want to do this. Now, those people who follow me on social media will know that I always try to take the middle path as much as possible. But even then, they accuse me of all sorts of stuff. So it's a very, very difficult problem. The good news is I strongly believe that despite all of Anwar's flaws, at the present moment, he's probably the best thing we can hope for Malaysia. So I'm really, really hoping that the unity government will do well in this election, because I think we need a strong period of political stability.
But James, what if they don't do well? What are the consequences? What might happen then?
Okay. If they lose the Malay vote, you will have a period of instability, and Anwar may even fall from government. I mean, that is the reality. People say he cannot fall because the numbers are with him. People keep forgetting, right? The thing about the anti-hopping law is that it is much easier to pull down a government, because if the party decides to move as a bloc, even if you disagree, you have to give the vote to the party. In the old days, right, if I want to pull down a government, right, I have to physically drag every MP across. Now I don't have to. I just have to bring one or two blocks. And the thing about the Malaysian political system, right, I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, right? When the process of government, when they force and they put together, right, none of the things that matters before that comes into play. For example, race, religion, all those things doesn't count anymore. What counts is who gets into power. Okay? The other thing is that people have short memory. People keep forgetting that GPS actually support Muhyiddin.
Yes. Yes,
right?
Work together
exactly.
quite closely.
So they just changed 24 hours. So this is why I said that, the moment the herd mentality starts, they think this government is going to fall and a new government is formed, right? All the normal so-called divide doesn't apply anymore, because they move as a bloc. Everybody wants to be in government because that's the only game in town.
James, thank you for being on the show today, sharing your insights. I appreciate your time. That was my conversation with political analyst James Chin. And that wraps up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.